All right, let's be honest for a moment. If you're an event professional, you're usually brought in after the big decisions have already been made. How much should we spend on the event? Where should we host it? What are we trying to accomplish? Usually come in after those decisions are made. And then it gets handed over to you with a simple instruction of, okay, here you go, make it happen. And while that can feel really frustrating, here's what I want to talk about today. It's not happening for the reason you think. As an event planner, you're often left out of early conversations, especially in the corporate environments, and that can feel really ridiculous and frustrating, but it's also understandable. Most organizations are siloed. Marketing sets the strategy, leadership sets the budget, and events are expected to execute. Marketing sits here, events sit here, and everyone assumes the communication will just happen naturally on its own, and it rarely does. This structure makes it incredibly difficult to prove event ROI as a planner because you're expected to deliver results when you're not part of those conversations. So here's the important reframe. Events teams aren't left out because leadership doesn't respect them. They're left out because they're not left out because they're not smart enough. They're left out because events are still seen as execution, not strategy. Leadership decides how much to spend, marketing decides how to spend it, events are asked to deliver on those deliverables. That's the system. And if you don't understand the system, it feels like a dead end. So let me tell you about a moment that changed how I show up in these situations. Back in 2017, I was VP of marketing for a boutique firm. It also functioned as an association management company. It was an interesting role. Each association had its own team, its event planning team. I wasn't making any planning decisions. I was there to support, there to help guide goals, to step in if needed, to pinch hit. And then a huge opportunity came up. One of our clients was going through a $1 billion acquisition. Both companies were headed to the same conference in Sarasota. Behind the scenes, between the two companies, things were really tense. Leadership was worried about employee retention. Hallway conversations were not positive. There was a real concern that people would start leaving. And so technically it was not my job to solve this. I could have waited for the client to say, we want you to throw this event. It's in Sarasota. Go ahead, Jenny, do your thing. But I saw something bigger. I didn't want to take marching orders this time. I pitched a strategy. Not just a private party, a full-blown marketing campaign. And the purpose was clear. Bring the two companies together, create connection, help employees feel like this acquisition was a new opportunity, not just a job change with a different logo. So we built out an experience around that idea. It became the Charting Your Course with Boral Resources campaign. Guests were picked up by a street trolley and brought to a party boat. They were greeted by a steel drum band. Custom signage featured the ship's wheel showing charting a course. Cocktails were themed with the roles of people in the company. Guests left with custom compasses. I still have mine. Every detail reinforced the same message. You belong here. You have a future here. This is a new chapter. This wasn't just an event. This was a strategy. And by speaking up early and leading with strategy, I changed how I was seen. Not because I demanded a seat at the table, but because I showed them what was possible when events were designed with intention. And that single decision opened up so many doors for me. It led to trust. It led to more involvement. It led to being invited into conversations much earlier. And that's how it works. And so here's what I want you to walk away from with this. Being left out of strategy doesn't mean you don't belong there. It means you haven't yet shown how your work supports the strategy. You don't need permission to think this way. You need one moment where you show up differently. And if you want help doing that, I share this kind of thinking every week in my Tuesday Edge newsletter. And I also have a free guide linked below that walks you through how to structure those early conversations so you can show up prepared, confident, and clear on what success actually looks like. Because when you lead with strategy, your role changes. And once that happens, the conversations you're invited into, they start to change too. So cheers to many, many more successful events.